Hi everyone, this is Miss Connolly, and today we're going to talk about what's called the hero archetype. So a literary scholar named Joseph Campbell has told us that there is only one type of hero, and that type of hero moves across every genre that's ever been written and is often very unique to each story but follows the same path. So we call it the hero archetype. Today we're going to look at several examples that you may have seen already so that you can translate those skills in your own hero that you make this week. So the basic journey of a hero is a circular pattern. First, we start at the X over here. That is where a hero ventures from his regular world into a supernatural world of wonder. And what this means is that a regular guy goes from living his regular life every single day to doing something extraordinary. Then we go over here to the Y on this circle, and it's fabulous forces are encountered and the hero wins a decisive victory. So this is when the hero faces some sort of conflict and overcomes it on his journey to accomplishing a greater something. This is usually, saving the world from blank, from disease, saving the world from an evil villain, things like that. Okay, then they finally get over to Z, and after they have conquered the villain or saved the world, they then come back to their hometown where they were living their everyday life before they embarked on this journey, and they bring their new outlook on life and their lessons that they have learned to their old life and are enriched and live a better life and help the world in some way. Okay, and so that is the hero's journey, and we'll talk more about the hero's journey all this week as we work on our hero and today in class. So we're going to talk about three separate franchises that have had very, very successful movies that have employed these types of thoughts from Joseph Campbell about the hero. And so we're going to be focusing on several different franchises, the first one being The Lord of the Rings, then we'll focus on Harry Potter, and finally on Star Wars. So The Lord of the Rings is set in the past. And so our hero from the past is, of course, Frodo. And he is the hero of the story, meaning he is a regular guy who somehow finds himself in this amazing situation where he has to go into a new world. So when Frodo gets the ring and is tasked with, finding the ring and dealing with the ring, this is the moment where he becomes the hero in the story. Our story from the present is Harry Potter, and so Harry Potter is set in the present, and the moment that he finds out he's a wizard is the moment he becomes the hero of the story. And he is a regular kid up until that time, just a little foster kid who, doesn't know who his parents are, and then all of a sudden he finds out he's a wizard and he becomes our hero. And our next story is set in the future, and it's Star Wars, and so of course that's Luke Skywalker. He is a regular guy just trying to live his life, and then all of a sudden when he is tasked with getting the message back to the mothership, he suddenly becomes our hero. Okay, so all three of these are just regular Joes living their lives until some event happens and they become the hero of the story. They are tasked with something. So the next character type that I want to talk about in the hero's archetype is the sidekick. And so this is a person who is a kind person who is always by our hero's side. You could say that they are their best friend. They are always there for the hero. They help save the day. They leave at one point, and then they come back to help the main character save the day. So in The Lord of the Rings, that would be Sam, or you could even argue that Merry and Pippin are also sidekicks, but our main sidekick would be Sam in The Lord of the Rings. And so he is the best friend, the main confidant, and he helps Frodo, our main character. Similarly, in Harry Potter, Ron is the main sidekick. You could also argue that Hermione is the main sidekick, is a main sidekick. She also fills a couple other roles within the story. So we would like to focus on Ron as the main sidekick of the story. And then finally, in Star Wars, you could argue that Han Solo is the sidekick to Luke Skywalker who helps him save the day. So the sidekick is very important in helping further the story, but also to support our main character. And a lot of times they tell us what the main character is thinking if the main character cannot do it themselves. Next up, we have the mentor, and so this is usually an enigmatic wizard of a ancient vintage. That is a nice way of saying an older guy who has a lot of wisdom, but also has a lot of knowledge of things. And he points out the way for our main character. He gives advice. He helps when possible. He facilitates things that are going on in the story, and then eventually he dies because that is a way for the main character to grow up as a person and to further the plot line. So in The Lord of the Rings, our mentor is Gandalf the Grey. He points the way for Frodo and begins the story. And then in Harry Potter, it would be Albus Dumbledore. He is the main mentor. He gives advice. He's the guiding light for Harry Potter in a lot of ways. And then in Star Wars, that would be Qui-Gon Jinn. And Qui-Gon Jinn isn't necessarily as old as our other two mentors, but he does point the way for Luke Skywalker and for Obi-Wan Kenobi in both of those franchises. Okay, so next we move on to the princess, and so this is a woman with a vision. So this is a woman who's driven to do something. She has a goal of some sort. She also has insight, meaning she's very intelligent. She can help the main character do things. She's smart. She's witty. She's often very, very loyal, and she has the key to something. That means that she has some special skill that she's going to help the main character. She's also a potential love interest who later ends up being a sister, usually to the main character. So in The Lord of the Rings, this would be Eowyn. And so she is the main woman, the main female lead who ends up being a sister or like a sister to the main character. In Harry Potter, it would be Ginny Weasley. While she is not Harry's biological sister, she occupies a sacred space where she's Ron's sister, which means that she's kind of off limits for Harry, but she's very, very important in the novel. And then in Star Wars, we have Leia, Princess Leia, obviously, who's very, very important in the story, but is also our main character's sister, so their love interest kind of dies as soon as they find that out. The next character we have is the Gentle Giant, and so they're extremely fearsome and scary at the beginning, and then they prove to be overwhelmingly lovable and happy, and they help further the story, and the author of our image here notes that beards don't hurt, because all of them seem to have some sort of beard or facial hair of some sort. So in The Lord of the Rings, we've got a giant who helps Frodo fairly frequently. In Harry Potter, we've got Hagrid, who is constantly helping Harry and facilitating the triad's shenanigans, if you will. And then we have Chewie in Star Wars, who helps Han Solo and Luke Skywalker get things done. Okay, and he has facial hair, but he also has body hair. So the next character type that we have here is the comic duo. So this would be Merry and Pippin in our Lord of the Rings duo. They're usually twins, but they could also be very close friends who look alike. That could work as well. And they never quite seem to get it right. They're the comic relief, meaning that they bring the funny. They do funny things with their bodies. They say funny things, and it keeps the story light and airy and fun. And so that would be those two in Lord of the Rings. In Harry Potter, it is the Weasley twins. They're constantly cracking jokes and pulling pranks, making fun things happen. And then in Star Wars, it would be our two machinery men here. And so R2-D2 and C-3PO bring the comic relief and the jokes to the story. They often lighten up the mood when it gets too heavy. And eventually, these characters have to prove themselves loyal in the end. In each of these three stories, they help at the very end of the movie or the book, they help them to defeat the bad guy. Okay, and we're coming close to the end now. We have the villains. The villains are often almost as important as the hero because they define our story. So in The Lord of the Rings, we have the villain who is always on Frodo's case. He's trying to steal the ring and, get after the ring. And so he is the face of evil. So the villains symbolize evil and what the hero must do to defeat evil and to get rid of all the evil in the world. They are the symbol of all the bad things that have ever happened in the world and the universe, and in Star Wars' case, the cosmos, meaning all the planets. And so in The Lord of the Rings, it's the villain who's trying to take the ring. In Harry Potter, it is Lord Voldemort, who is trying to suck all of the good out of the world, and Harry must stop him. And then in Star Wars, it's Darth Vader, who is trying to bring the Sith back and end everything good that has ever existed in, both in the Force and in the cosmos. And so the author of our infographic here notes that if you wear a black cape, it always helps you to be more evil, and that is because black is a literature color and it is the symbol of death and destruction. And if you'll notice, the hero must destroy the villain in order to end the destruction and death. And so that is a literature color connection for you. And then the last character type that is always in our stories is the villain's army. So a villain cannot be evil and horrible by himself. He must have followers, just as the hero must have some followers, which we have listed all above here. And so the evil villain must have an evil army. And so these are usually unhuman or inhuman people who are masked and have an extraordinary number. Usually they are infinitely supplied with bad guys, and you keep wondering, well, where are all these people coming from? And you can't really figure out how he has amassed such a big army to help defeat the hero, but he has. And so in the end, it is always surprisingly easy for the hero to defeat them because of some unknown force. And so we always have 3 different types of armies in our 3 different types of stories. So these are all based on Joseph Campbell's assertion that every hero follows this type of journey. And so in order to help create our own hero, what I want you to do for homework tonight is I want you to write me a paragraph about how you are going to use these types of characters in your own story as you develop your own hero this week. So for example, who are you going to make your hero? What are they going to be like? What are they going to do? Who's going to be their sidekick or their best friend who helps them all throughout the way? Who's going to be their mentor? What will they be doing? Who's going to be the princess? Who's going to play the princess role? Who's going to be the gentle giant? Who's going to be the comic duo? Who's going to be the villain? And who's going to be the villain's army? And how are all of these character types going to play into your overall plot line of your story? Because each of these characters impacts the story in a very specific and hugely important way. So I want you to write me at least 1 paragraph, that means 8 sentences, regarding who is going to play that role in your own story with your hero you're developing. And so I want you to write that out and you'll turn it in to me tomorrow. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a wonderful rest of your day.